the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. In the studio, waiting to be profiled, is multi-hyphenate Greg La Voi and artist George Kleiman, who did the paintings on the set today. Growing up in Colorado as an only child, Greg acted, painted, wrote plays which he directed, read every book he could find, and collected everything. His poor mother. After graduation from the University of Northern Colorado, he came to LA to attend FIDM, which is the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. He worked for a while at Elizabeth Courtney Costumes, where he met the great Bob Mackie, and then off he went again, back to Colorado. Did you know what was in store for you when you went back?
Oh yes, I only went back for a short time because it was a home base, and so I could fly from Los Angeles to Colorado to New York to Nashville, wherever, and it was more of a grounding place than anything.
But when you got there, who should you meet but Reba McEntire?
Oh, I know. Well, my dad was a big rodeo person, so he had box seats, and I had entree to all the different areas. So luckily, when Reba was appearing, I knew that I could have access to her. Met her, showed her some of my work, and she said, "Great, I need a gown for the Country Music Awards."
Did you actually go thinking that you were going to do something like that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I thought this was just serendipitous.
Oh no, it was calculated. So yeah.
Totally calculated.
Career-oriented calculation.
And then Roseanne Cash came into...
Well, I was wearing a pair of leather pants at the Grand Ole Opry. Fabulous pair of leather pants, and she said, as she saw me walking down the hallway, "Great ass," and I didn't even turn around, and she said, "You in the leather pants, great ass," and I turned around and I said, "Me?" And she said, "Yeah, where'd you get the leather pants?" I said, "I had them made." She said, "Make me a pair." So, and that's how I met Roseanne and started doing all her clothes.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Judds?
Oh, they had seen my work for Roseanne and for Reba, and I was shopping at Saks Fifth Avenue one afternoon in '84 maybe, and I get this call on my pager from Naomi Judd. So I quick called back, and she said, "We've seen your work. We're new," and they had not even put out an album yet, and they said, "We want you to design our clothes."
But how have they seen your work? From her friends? From their friends?
Well, from Reba. Reba was getting a lot of exposure, Roseanne was getting exposure, and it's the word of mouth, you know.
I know, but here you are, a young guy out of school.
Yeah, it was lucky. I mean, I had really wanted to be the next Bob Mackie, and when that didn't happen, I became the next country Bob Mackie.
But that is, who could do those clothes? It has to be someone with a flair.
Well, it was thanks to Barbie, too. I mean, I'd, grown up with Barbie and her wild clothes, and so going from Barbie to country music was not too big of a stretch.
Was it good? That's a really great thing. But then the next part of your life, coming back to LA and doing those Roger Corman B-movies.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? It truly was guerrilla filmmaking. I mean, guerrilla filmmaking with little teeny costumes, great big bosoms, and a lot of blood, and a machine gun in every movie. I mean, it was incredible.
But that's where I would think Barbie could have been your influence.
Oh, totally, because I was working with a lot of exotic dancers that were now actresses, and I mean, it was the little blonde bimbo, or the big blonde bimbo, that was being slashed by the janitor in the lingerie factory when the sprinkler systems went off, and they were in the whole movie in bloody lingerie. So I mean,
did you do anything else, or just the costumes? Did you do hair?
Oh no, just the costumes.
Just the costumes.
Yeah, if you could call it that.
But how did you get that job?
I had an agent, luckily. I'd got an agent from my work, country music work, and she was putting me out for all these movies, but bigger movies. Well, she had a director friend that was doing a Roger Corman slasher film called Rain Killer, and everybody got killed in the rain in Los Angeles. And so I took the job. It was my first movie, and I couldn't wait. We were shooting, I think, 20-hour days.
And 20 movies you did or something, right?
A movie a month. A movie a month.
But were those all for Corman?
All for Corman.
And then did you go on to do other movies?
From there, you met certain producers or, you know, line producers that went on and moved up. And actually, some of the people that I still work with today started at Roger Corman.
Were those all designing, or did you go to thrift shops or have things made?
Oh, a little bit
What?
of both. I mean, on the rare occasion that we could design, I once designed something for Mary Crosby, who, you know, Bing's daughter, who shot JR. I got to design that. But
oh, you did that dress she was wearing when
no,
she
no,
shot
no,
JR?
no, but in our little movie. But it was thrift store shopping. It was mainstream shopping. You know, if you had the budget, it was, you know.
Did you do drawings and show them to the directors?
Oh yeah. Because I grew up really wanting the old golden age of Hollywood. You know, where the designers really designed rather than just shopped. And so blew some of these directors away when I'd come in with even just on my script, little notes, thumbnail sketches on my script of costumes for the slasher. You know, so they were like, okay,
this guy
go
knows
ahead.
what he's
yeah,
doing,
I
right?
think so. Yeah.
Ripped clothes.
Yeah. And blood.
Lots of blood. But that must have put you into then the television realm.
Well, a producer that had worked on one of these low-budget things got a TV show, Sid and Marty Krofft television show called Land of the Lost, and it was the remake. And he called me, knew that I could design because he'd seen the sketches, and then I got to design this incredible fantasy world of slee stacks and, you know, little dinosaurs and the family that fell in the earthquake. And that was one of the pieces I had nomination for an Emmy on.
I was going to say, you got an Emmy nomination for that.
And that was, I mean, that was one of the first major mainstream projects. That was so exciting.
Did you dress animals and things?
Yeah.
You dressed
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And then you did a movie of the week.
Yep.
And for TV, so
Yes.
we're still in TV now.
So we're still in TV land.
And you got another Emmy nomination.
And that was all Native American, and I just love the Southwest, and so that was all very mystical Indian Native American costumes, and so that was a lot of
What was it?
Bill's
Oh,
costumes.
the Lizard Woman.
Yeah, Secret of Lizard Woman, and it was wonderful.
Did you draw on any of the things that you knew from Colorado?
Oh yeah, because my parents and I used to travel to Santa Fe all the time, so it was like
did.
coming home there too.
Well, while you were doing all of these things and designing all kinds of things, were you always carrying a camera with you?
Always. I had a camera. I chronicled my life from the time I was probably 6 years old until now. I mean, I'd catch my parents in odd situations, or the dog, or whoever came to the house, or whatever it was. I was always snapping pictures.
Your poor mother. I really mean it. I mean, she couldn't have had more than one.
No.
Like
well, both
you.
Of them. Well, you know what though? This is the testament to parents that had no experience being parents. They allowed me to just exist and live and create. And that to me, you know, if I ever have children, I'll say, raise them the same way, because it truly was the most magical existence. They give you a pen, they give you paper, they gave me whatever I wanted. I mean, I was truly blessed.
I know, but you had that in you. I mean, to be collecting everything. Kids don't collect things like that. I mean, you collected Matchbox cars.
Yeah, I loved anything little. And that's why I think I
Little.
love Barbie. It was anything that was miniature, anything I could get into my world is what I loved. So the cars or...
What else?
Yeah, and miniature books or the dolls or whatever. It was anything little that was a replica, you know, whether it be your necklace in miniature, a watch in miniature, anything I loved. Just teeny little things.
Were you making things too?
Oh, yeah.
To be little like that?
TV sets or theater sets. I would make anything, you know, like I would recreate a stage set.
Oh, so
you know.
you were already using your hands
yeah.
and you were already putting things,
Yeah,
the
it's kind of
artist
scary to
part
think
of
about
it.
it now, yeah.
Yeah, because your folks weren't doing that.
No, but they were encouraging it.
But that's really
Yeah.
good. So here comes Barbie. She got lost in your childhood, right? And then
Yeah.
she comes back again. How does she come back?
I turned 40, and I had always had Barbie in the background, and especially living in Los Angeles, her home place, her birthplace, I thought there was always one outfit that I'd wanted that I never had, and it was called Dinner at 8, and it was very anti-MAME hostess gown. And so a friend of mine or an aunt gave me $41 bills, and I thought, okay, if I can find that exact outfit for this price, I'll buy it, that's it, I'll be happy. I found it in an antique store, $40, pristine, perfect, and I thought, I'm done. No, it was just the beginning.
It was
And
just the
Just
beginning.
the beginning. It
Where
started
did
all
she
over
wear
again.
her dinner at 8?
She didn't wear it in the book, but she wore it in her dream house. Dinner parties. That was
Well,
the dinner party.
this book, I love this book. I read this book till I fell asleep last night because Barbie writes about herself and all the places she goes. And I think this Barbie what does it say? Barbie loves LA. Should be a, for the tourist guide. It should be a tourist guidebook.
Well, it's wonderful because I just did the keynote speech at the Conservancy, the Los Angeles Conservancy, and they love the book because it's all of our favorite buildings in Los Angeles.
Well, the thing that I love is that you take Barbie to these buildings, and then you say the year the building was built, the architect, so you get all this little tidbit of information, or the tale of the pup, or someplace like that.
And it wasn't just about the doll. It truly was about the architecture, the clothes that she wore, as well as the locale. So, I mean, it really is a book for a lot of different audiences.
I think, did she like going to these places? Like Staples Center. Here she is at Staples Center.
Right. And you know what? It kind of, people have seen this and they say, this makes Barbie real.
Over here.
And so
Barbie's over here. Where is she here?
Oh, she's at the Kodak Theater going to the Academy Awards last year.
Oh, right. Okay, and then this side she's going
to Staples Center.
So she does everything.
Oh, she and Ken have a skybox at Staples Center.
So she went to, where else did she go?
She went
to Bullock's Wilshire.
Oh, she loves Bullock's Wilshire. Loved Bullock's Wilshire.
And there's all these places that, as we say, are monuments to LA. Perino's before it got torn down.
I can't even drive by there now because I don't know if they've wrecked it yet. But it, you know, I mean, I think it too stemmed from me being a child watching the Academy Awards or watching the Grammys, knowing that they were set out here and that Barbie grew up out here. I wanted to go to Perino's as a kid to eat. I wanted to go to Bullock's Wilshire to shop. I wanted to have a hot dog at Pink's. So these were I wanted to go to a concert at the Hollywood Bowl. So those are places I had to see when I got out here.
She even got to Disney Hall.
She did.
And she had this great dress.
Bill Blass. It was a Bill Blass gown.
Well, did you make those dresses?
No, they were all Mattel clothes.
So Bill Blass made it for Mattel?
Bill Blass, there was a Bill Blass Barbie, there was a Donna Karan Barbie, there was a Ralph Lauren Barbie. These are all in the 90s. Bloomingdale's sold most of those.
Well, I want to make sure, here she went to the airport, but I want to make sure.
Oh, there's a good picture inside of the airport.
We want to make sure that we show you, because one of the things is I wanted to know how you actually photographed her.
It was trial and error in the beginning, and it was an assistant of mine holding the doll and me shooting, and that wasn't working.
But it has to be up close because you have to make her look the right size,
exactly.
Right?
So through trial and error, I decided that a music stand, the old, you know, elementary school music stand, was my best vehicle. It could be raised and lowered. I had our shiny boards out there for the lights, and so we'd put the doll on the music stand and be able to raise her and lower her. And it usually was at eye level to the building, and I'd shoot up and force the perspective on the building.
And there she was.
There she was.
And she just, you made one outfit for her, Poochie?
Did a couple, yeah. A friend of mine gave me a cuff and a belt off of a Poochie dress.
Oh.
And I had a tailor out at one of the studios that I was working at whip up this little outfit for her, and it's just incredible. It's a work of art.
So are we going to see Barbie go to New York?
Oh yeah, that's the next book. I'm leaving in October. I'm going to be shooting in October and part of November. Go back for Christmas to shoot the ice rink.
Do you have all those things? Do you have all those Barbie dolls to go?
Oh yeah.
So they'll all be different?
They'll all be in New York.
Oh gosh.
Barbie will love New York.
Greg, it's time to leave, but we didn't even get to the TV shows that you're doing now.
Nope.
And I guess if everyone looks, they'll see Greg La Voi everywhere.
Have me back.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joan.
Thanks a lot. Don't go away, because George Kleiman is going to come back and talk about his artwork. Hi, we're back with the Joan Quinn Profiles, and I'm Joan Quinn with artist George Kleiman, who was born and raised in New York. He earned a Bachelor of Arts in Sculpture from San Jose State. He studied industrial design there, but you also studied architecture at City College.
Yes, City College of New York. And yes, that was, well, I always knew I wanted to be a painter, but I didn't want to study painting, but I wanted to study related things.
So that was pretty interesting to study sculpture and architecture. Was the architecture really part of your career plan?
Well, no, but it kind of led more to an understanding of space. Actually, it helped me more as a painter than as a sculptor or anything else, because it made me understand space.
What were you doing when you were sculpting? What kind of work and material were you using?
Well, I did everything. I worked in clay, I worked stone, wood, plastic, cast metal. I studied at San Jose State with Fletcher Benton and
Oh, you did?
Yes, and John Battenberg and
Oh, so
and
you had
others.
really great teachers.
Oh, wonderful teachers, wonderful teachers.
But they didn't influence you enough because you started painting.
I'll tell you why, because painting was more immediate. Painting was something, you know, I'd like to do something where, you know, if you can have a zipper on your chest, you could unzip it,
And there it
get
is.
the painting out, zip it back up, and walk out of the studio, and you just put yourself out there. I like immediacy. In sculpting, the immediacy was in your head, but then it was all the time of, you know, perfecting something, unless it was a fast media. But I found paper to
Was
be
it
fast.
representational at all when you were working then?
No, some of it was, and some stone carvings were, but I remember I did one piece of plastic with it was a piece of cast acrylic with a little groove on the top that I planted grass in there, and the grass was growing. I had to cut it with a little scissor. I had to water it with a hypodermic needle.
How
It was just a
great.
living sculpture, but things like that. And then there were abstract. At the time, I went to school with Fletcher Benton. This was in the late 60s, and people were doing earthworks and thought process.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I remember I drew a drawing on the state of California with my car. It was not a 941-mile drawing.
Real? Oh,
Yeah.
is that right? You mean actually?
I traced out a certain path along the highways.
And drove it?
And I drove it, dripping water to mark it. Of course, the water evaporated. It was just to the idea.
But that was really part of the thought process that was going in Northern California then,
Right.
wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Like metal pieces and corten steel and fire and
Yeah.
water mixed and
Thinking of Peter Volkus.
I
when you
know
said
all
that.
those and clay, heavy.
Right. Clay was a lot. Aronson and
Arneson, right.
right. And clay was big, but and I had my hands in all of that. But I just like the immediacy of painting.
But the paintings that we see on the set are a far cry from that guttural kind of thing. These are more lyrical, and they have a different kind of feel about them.
Well, all my paintings are different. These are a particular few I brought in because they're small. Because I like to paint like 7 by 10 feet, 12 feet, big things.
Huge, huge things. When you were telling me, you showed me a picture, a huge picture with a little tiny person. Where would you put something like that?
Law offices, lobbies
I
of
see.
buildings, restaurants.
I see. So
and
there are
people's
a lot of
houses.
places. There's a lot of places for those huge paintings, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think of, you know, putting paintings on the walls first and then putting some furniture in the center of the room. A lot of people kind of put furniture around and say, well, where can we stick something?
No, I agree with you. I think that's the best way to do it. I think the art tells the story.
Absolutely.
And telling a story, do these tell stories?
Not exactly. I mean, they tell a story if you put a story to it, but...
Should we start with this one, maybe?
I can universally talk about any of them
Okay.
because there is no story. The work is all about a feeling, so I'm trying to give you a vehicle to give you a feeling of pleasure.
So let's start with this one.
Yeah.
Because this is there's so much movement in it. It's just like moving and jumping and happy.
Well, it's just all about about feeling good. This is what my work is about. To give you an example, I had an incident happen a few years ago where a gentleman of 90 years of age in ill health was walking by my house. A neighbor of mine, I knew he was in bad health. He looked bad. I said, hey, Al, come on in, let's talk a moment. And he walked in my studio and there was this painting, 7 by 8 foot painting on the wall, and he just stared at it and he looked at it and he was like all hunched over and sickly looking, and like 10, 12 minutes later, his chest was full. He was smiling and beaming. And I said, hey, Al, tell me, what do you see? He says, I don't know. It just makes me feel good. And at that point, I said, God, I've been painting 50 years, and now someone understands what it's all about. I mean, at least I knew one person did. Hopefully more do.
But you know, that's what I always say. Art has like a healing process.
Yes.
And if you don't have enough art in your in your body. You need it. You start craving it. I need to go hear some music, or I need to see a painting, or I need something that's going to take me out of where I am.
Right. That's why a lot of people, when they start buying paintings, they say, I got the bug, or the collecting bug. People, once they get so turned on by art, they just want to have so many visuals around them, because art really feeds you. It nourishes you. And I like to think of my art that way. I mean, there's art for propaganda reasons. I mean, there's art that's black, and not that I couldn't do that. It's not about technique. It's about using whatever ability I have, which over time you build a technique, to give you an end result that's something that someone's going to look at and it's going to make them feel better.
But what is the technique? I mean, when you start, you look at a canvas, what do you do?
Well, the first thing I do is I look at a white canvas or a white piece of paper and I say, this is beautiful.
and what can I do?
Right, so I have to make it better, otherwise why touch it? Okay. Right. So the first mark that you make on that piece of paper or canvas already took you into negative territory, because it's now white with something on it, a beginning. I wouldn't say it's negative, but I mean, it's not. So you have to then counterbalance. So it becomes a process of feeding itself. It grows from whatever the first seed is.
And what material would that be when you face your canvas the first time?
I use acrylic on canvas. I like to do a lot of layers. I want it to dry, and I want to go forward.
So, and that's fast.
And
acrylic.
That's fast. Although people look at my acrylics and they say they're oil paintings. And it's funny because I use oil pastel on paper, which I wash with not these.
I don't
these are
have any.
Right, the pencils I also, but with an oil wash, and then people look at them and say they're watercolors. So I think my oils are water and my water is oil.
So you have an oil oil crayon on paper, and
yes.
then you do a wash over it? Is that what you're saying?
Right, because you can take the color and you can dilute it and move it and paint with it after you draw with it. Yeah, I like that process.
So you don't have a drawing that you're going to transfer onto the canvas?
Never. Well, I shouldn't say that. Occasionally, I might have a little drawing with an idea, so I'll say, yeah, maybe my first few marks I can kind of prime the pump a little bit, get ahead, but as soon as I'm into it, it becomes another animal.
What are the influences? What influences you when you stand in front of a canvas?
That's a great question. I mean, input equals output. So
what's coming into you?
I have to make sure that I lead the life that gives me things that I could put out that will make people feel good about what they're looking at.
So do you go to museums?
I've been to a lot of museums here and there, but it's not. No, I try to. I don't have to go out. My studio. I have an old synagogue, which is my.
I was going to ask you about your studio.
Yeah, and I have the rabbi's house that I live in with my family.
That's so great. I think that's so fabulous.
So beyond my doors, everything is a rumor. So it doesn't matter what exists there. I'm creating from my own space. Of course, I'm influenced. I'm influenced by everything I see, and I could be influenced by a Picasso painting in a museum, but I'm also influenced by things like one day I was in Mexico at the time, so the color palette's different, but I saw someone washing a violet purplish toned car, a medium purple car, and they had this neon green hose they were using, and they draped it over the top of the beetle, and there was this like green stripe that went across the purple. And when I went to paint that day, I did some purple thing with some green stripe in it because I liked the way that looked. But so everything influences you.
It came in, just what you're saying. It came into you and came out on your canvas.
Yes, and good life, and I have a good family and lots of love in my life, so it all adds together.
Do you teach?
I don't teach professionally, although I could. Matter of fact, the few times I was offered jobs teaching, if they didn't fill the class, when I went back to start the class again, they said, well, this year you need a bachelor's degree. That happened to me at UC Santa Barbara. It happened to me at Otis Parsons. I don't worry too much about teaching, although I have people that want to be artists that find me and they talk to me. I have teaching. Dialogue with, and I volunteer at a school. I teach kids
that's great.
All kinds of craft projects, so I have fun.
That's really great. And I think that artists having dialogue with each other is really important, or for you to have a dialogue with, even if it's not a an artist.
Right.
About your work, a dialogue about your work.
About work, about life. Yeah, just about anything. I mean, it's all the, like I said, input, output.
Why do you call these cosmic poetry, some of these?
Okay, well, I call the work I do cosmic poetry, and the reason I do that is simple. Everyone says, hey, you're an abstract artist. And I say, well, wait a minute, I'm not an abstract artist, because abstract means you're taking something real and you're abstracting it, you're changing it. I'm not taking anything real, I'm creating a new reality, and in that new reality, and I call it cosmic poetry. Now, why the name cosmic and poetry? Well, cosmic because I think it could be anywhere, anytime, any space. It could fill any void. And poetry because I think poetry is a high form of art, and they're complete. They're complete like poems or songs, or if they're bigger, they could be symphonies.
I'm going to show these while you're talking.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's nice to see.
Does it look pretty? This is great.
And these are things I do, acrylic, Prismacolor pencil on paper mostly. And it's interesting, maybe 30 years ago or so, I used to always work small like this. And I'd go to dealers, and that's when I was younger, and pounding the pavement, and I'd show them my work, and they'd go, "Oh, this is great! I love it." And I would, and then they'd say to me, "Well, what does your big work look like?" And I said, "Well, this is my big work."
This is my big work.
And they'd look at me for a while, and they'd say, "Oh, this is so good, but come back when you have some big work." So it kind of, after hearing that over and over and over and over, I finally.
So now we have the big work, and we had you here to tell us about it. Thank you, George Kleiman.
I thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor. See you next time. We ran out of time.